And then Thursday mornings, we get a visit in studio for the man who knows what it's like to strap on a gun and pin on a badge and become the sheriff of Summit County, Colorado. In the studio, Jaime FitzSimons, the sheriff. Morning, Sheriff.
Good morning, Tom.
Glad to have you in studio.
Hey, that intro never gets old.
It always fires you up, doesn't it?
It never gets old, especially following Tom Petty. I mean,
yeah,
my God.
Exactly.
You think you can't trump Tom Petty till you hear that intro.
And then it's time for
right
the
up,
sheriff.
Yes. I'm right up there with Tom Petty.
And, well, you know, the sheriff is somebody who's been relatively busy here the last
oh my gosh,
few months. It's a guy who just doesn't get a day off. He's working all the time for the people of Summit County.
That's right.
Some special guests in studio as well this morning.
Yeah, happy to bring Amy Wineland, our public health director, to kind of talk about where we are with this whole resurgence of the coronavirus and what steps we're taking moving forward. Things are going to change a little bit. So I'll let Amy jump in and start it off, and we'll talk about how what's going to change both in the public health world and restriction-wise, and what's going to change enforcement-wise, which people should probably pay attention to.
Welcome, Amy.
Good morning. Thanks for having me today. Thanks, Sheriff. So I think most people are understanding that our cases are actually increasing exponentially. We have 719 cases right now in Summit County, which is really alarming. That equates to 539 cases per 100,000 is our average over a 14-day period.
So we don't have 100,000 people in the county, though, do we?
Right. That's correct. This is just a statistical method of being able to compare ourselves with larger population counties. And so this is a standard practice for public health and CDC to compare all sorts of types of measurements and data. And so that's why we use that metric. This is a metric that we're tied to with the state, along with our positivity rate and hospitalizations. And so it's really something that we are bound to. You know, if our cases continue to rise, we are going to be required to go into more restrictions, which is unfortunately where we are. We did put out an amended public health order last week. This will require all restaurants to remove alcohol from tables. There's no consumption or possession of alcohol in restaurants after 10. Restaurants will still be closing at 10. We have unfortunately also had to decrease our gathering sizes to 6 indoors with only 2 household members and 10 outdoors with only 2 households present. We've also had to put some stricter strategies in place for our short-term rentals. We're requiring now that our property managers confirm the identity of those who are renting our short-term rentals, as well as restricting those who are in the houses to 10 or less, and only 2 households can be present inside at short-term rentals. These strategies are really targeting where we're seeing the trends in our community, which are really through social gatherings at workplaces. And then, of course, along with that comes the enforcement. We really need, and we're excited to have this partnership with the sheriff and all of the law enforcement in the other jurisdictions to help us kind of put the hammer down. We've been really working before now on educating our community, working with our businesses on what the protocols are and the safety guidelines are. But unfortunately, we're in a place where we're going to have to do more stronger enforcement.
So I'm curious as far as where the numbers come from, the numbers of how many people can gather, the 10 o'clock closing. These aren't arbitrary numbers, obviously.
Right. So these are strategies that have been successful. You may recall that after every holiday, we see peaks in numbers. We kind of expect that to happen. And we've been able to recover after every holiday. After Memorial Day and 4th of July, you know, our county did so great over the summer with following the public health orders and doing the simple things that we know work. Wearing a mask. It's very cheap, inexpensive, and it's extremely successful in keeping the spread of the disease at bay, as well as physical distancing. Unfortunately, we are letting our guard down right now, and so we saw statewide that alcohol sales stopped at 10. The governor did that after 4th of July because they saw an increase in our 20 to 29-year-old cases. And after a month of that, that number decreased in that age group. And so we know that that's a strategy that works. That's an age group where we're seeing most of our cases here in Summit County. that age group is actually driving the spread of our virus right now. And what's concerning is once we see the cases increase, we start seeing increases in all other age groups, including those most vulnerable to severe illness. And so some people think that this virus isn't so bad. Their friend may have had it. They didn't get severely ill. What's important to understand is that our cases are counted whether it's a severe illness or not. And that makes our numbers go up, and that metric we're bound to by the state. And so if our cases continue to go up, we will have more restrictive measures in place. We're facing more restrictions today as well as next week if we don't turn this train around.
Are we ever going to face a total shutdown like we did earlier this year?
I hope not.
Okay.
I certainly hope not.
Yeah.
The trend across the state right now is alarming because we're starting to see hospitalizations increase, which we know is a late metric for more wider disease spread in the community. And we're actually starting to see a few more hospitalizations here in Summit County, too. So this is a concern for us. The average age of hospitalizations is actually 57. A lot of people think that it's much older than that, but it's not. Those that are older and have underlying health conditions are certainly at risk for more severe illness and possibly death, unfortunately. And that's what we want to prevent is deaths. These are all preventable deaths if we can come together as a community and do what we know works.
And obviously the enforcement end of things, that's where the sheriff comes in.
Yeah, as Amy talked about, from the beginning of this, and we talked about this on the air for months, about that we were going to try the educational approach, the nice approach, try to get people in line with what was going on, save our community from being shut down. And again, as Amy talked about, we're at the point now where we're facing really much tougher restrictions. And as you said, the worst case scenario is a total shutdown again. And nobody wants to see that. Nobody does. And so we've done the nice educational approach. Our numbers are on the rise. We're going to start to go after some of these more egregious violators. I mean, we're looking at now COVID parties that are being held. Yeah. We're looking at after-hour activities and gatherings that are going on. I mean, purposely turning their nose up to what's going on here in the community. And the problem is that everybody's going to suffer. In the end, we're all going to suffer, and if we shut down on the beginning here of the advent of the ski season, oh my God, imagine if you have no one to advertise. You know what I mean? It affects all of us, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And Sheriff, and it's not like you, it's not like your deputies, it's not like Silverthorne PD and Dillon PD has been sitting there waiting for this moment to come.
No,
this is a last ditch effort. This is a last course of last.
Yeah, absolutely, Phil. You're absolutely right. I mean, this is something that none of us want to see, including the district attorney, county attorney's office, public health. We've done this all together jointly from the beginning. And we've all agreed from the beginning that absolute enforcement, going out and writing summonses to people would be a last ditch effort. But I mean, truly, now it's pretty hard to deny when I see these things on social media about, parties and gatherings, and, we're investigating, kid parties and at grandma's house and all kinds of stuff that, shouldn't be happening. And maybe the way to get people's attention is through stricter enforcement, because what we don't want is, because of a few, we're all going to suffer in a shutdown. That is the worst case scenario. Even if we're not there yet, it is a worst case scenario. Amy's doing everything she can. Amy and I attend meetings every day together. I'm here to tell you that your public health director is doing everything she can to keep this community open and viable. But it's these other forces that are creating this chaos. And we sit in meetings every day talking about what are we missing? How do we do this better? And it's come down to maybe we just need some stricter enforcement. Maybe that will then turn, as Amy said, the train around and get people to start thinking that, oh my God, we're at the point now where we're going to start enforcing this. And again, nobody wants to do it, but we're all in. I'm meeting with the chiefs tomorrow and public health with Amy and her team tomorrow and the district attorney to talk about and strategize how we're going to do this, because this is, again, something out of all the public health violations that we've investigated this season since April, and there's hundreds of them, there's only one actual summons that was written that I can stand here this morning and think of. Out of hundreds of violations, I should say hundreds of responses that we've gone to of violations, but there's only been one egregious enough where we actually wrote a summons. But now we're going to look at these egregious violations a lot more seriously, and people should pay attention if they're listening.
Amy, are there any other resort communities around the country that you can take a look at to compare Summit County statistics to?
That's a really good question. I think right now across the state we're seeing it. We often compare ourselves to Eagle County. We know that they had a huge increase in cases in July that we didn't have. I think what makes us really unique actually in our community is that we're really close to the Denver area. We get so many more day visitors than any other resort county in our community. We had a huge influx of visitors in the summer, and we were able to keep our numbers really low because we had such great partnership and community, our community stepped up and followed what the guidance is, which are again are very simple things that we're asking people to do until we have a vaccine or better treatment. These are the things that work. Unfortunately, people have COVID fatigue. They're letting their guard down, and they're not understanding that, yes, it might not be a severe illness for some, but that still counts against us. It'll count against our economy. Unfortunately, it might mean people will lose their jobs, and it will impact our ski season and our ability to have what we all need and want to have happen is a prosperous and safe ski season.
That's what it's all about, and the season beyond that to move through next summer and to try to get all these rescheduled events back in gear for 2021 when they've been allegedly rescheduled for. But
find some normalcy, find some balance.
I've heard that plenty of times that people say, I just want this to be over, just want this to go on. The best way that I'm hearing to make this be over is to follow some of these rules for a little bit longer or maybe a long bit longer. But there is that end in sight whenever it comes, and this is the best way to it.
Knock it off.
I'm tired of it, too.
We're all tired. Yeah.
Everybody's got the COVID fatigue.
Yeah.
But it's still just one of those things that we have to deal with.
Yeah. If you're tired in a marathon, do you lay down and sleep halfway through?
No.
You finish it.
Yeah, and sometimes we equate this. Actually, just recently, the directors across the state have been kind of relating this to a wildfire. We throw every resource at a wildfire to protect people's homes, and this needs to be in that manner. We need to think about this as a wildfire. We are the firefighters trying to put water on this fire right now, and we need everyone to participate in this and throw everything they have to step up and protect our community, our neighbors, our loved ones, so that we can have a season that we enjoy and love, and the reason why many of us move here to Summit County.
Yeah. Now, these new restrictions, how is this going to affect holiday gatherings? We've got
we're having holidays?
Yeah, I know already.
Canceled.
Halloween coming up this weekend, Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's. That's all coming up real fast.
Yeah, so holidays are always a concern. As I mentioned, we always and will always have spikes in cases after holidays, unfortunately, because people do get together. We are really encouraging not doing traditional trick-or-treating this year. It just is too risky to have community members coming together in tight quarters, in neighborhoods. But we're really also concerned about Thanksgiving and Christmas. These holidays are particularly concerning because they invite multiple generations to come together, those that are most vulnerable for severe illness. So we're really hoping and trying to encourage people to have alternative ideas for celebrating these cherished holidays, do them virtually, prepare meals together so that you can see Grandma and Grandpa later in the spring, in the summer. If you celebrate during Thanksgiving, some people might not be here in Christmas. So we really need to make sure that we're taking that into consideration, really only sticking to one other household, gathering size 6 or less inside. That's our order.
Hey, just like the old Yule log you used to see on TV,
Right.
they'll have a turkey in an oven. You'll put on Zoom. You'll have a Zoom meeting with a turkey.
Right next to Grandma and Aunt and Uncle and everyone else.
And there's the turkey in the middle of the Zoom.
there's
The
the
turkey's got its own Zoom channel.
Yeah. You can still fight and do all that stuff you do at
Sure.
Thanksgiving and Christmas dinner.
It's the COVID diet, the digital turkey. Yeah.
You can avoid tough conversations too.
Oh,
in
Yes.
politics,
Just
right?
turn it off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Just hit
Mute
mute.
them.
Hit mute, right? Hit mute, and everybody goes quiet.
Just have a sense of humor and
Yeah.
and obey the public health order.
Well, we definitely have some challenges ahead of us, and obeying the public health order is priority number one at this point.
Yeah, especially with this weekend with this traditionally Halloween, even though the kids are usually out, this is also the big party weekend
Sure.
for adults. And that will kill our numbers. I mean, if people get together and do that this weekend, that will absolutely spike our numbers.
So if you've got one of those enticing invitations for this really cool Halloween party coming up this
Yeah.
weekend, you may want to take a hard pass on that.
Yeah, and if there's a knock at the door, it might be the sheriff's office.
That's a knock you don't want.
Probably hasn't happened since people were about a decade younger than they are.
And it won't be a costume.
Yeah, I'm guessing you're not going to say trick or treat either.
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. Amy, thanks for coming in this morning. Sheriff,
you.
always
Thank
a
you so
pleasure.
much.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you for your service.